Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast, the Bundesliga podcast covering everything that there is to know in the English language about Eintracht Frankfurt, the greatest club in Germany, the greatest club in the Bundesliga. We are definitely biased with damn fine reason. Garret Comet's here in the confines of Metro Detroit. You hear my voice, even though you do not see my face. We are going old school for this week only, to cover. We've had some of our team members are out enjoying some much needed vacation time. So we will be back to both video and audio form next week. But for this week, you just get to hear the sound of our sweet voices. Are you ask? Yes, because I am not alone tonight. While I'm in my abode here in Metro Detroit, my other midden brother is unfortunately deep behind enemy lines, so to speak, in the state of Ohio on some work needs. While in Columbus, he is repping hard an old NGS scarf, which explains their feelings about Ohio. My brother from another
four-letter word.
How are you? Yep.
There's no better way to describe the relationship between these two states other than when I sat down in this meeting today, I was asked to introduce myself. And I said, I'm Chris, and, I'm from Michigan. And there was literally an audible gasp in the room. And I had to explain, don't worry, I'm not a Wolverine. I'm a Spartan. And everyone's like, oh, thank God. The enemy of my enemy is my friend situation. Truly could not have been more apparent today. But you know what I noticed traveling behind enemy lines, and I think you've experienced this driving through Ohio. We can't go a mile per hour over the speed limit. I was driving here at 3 o'clock in the morning, absolutely paranoid when I hit that border.
I had an instance where I realized I had expired tags a couple of years ago. I was a few months late to renew my license. And I just thought about during that time, I went to Maumee, Ohio and back in that day. And I was like, whoo, I lucked out.
People think I'm joking when I say it, but they will single you out because of your Michigan license plates here.
Indeed. We still recognize Toledo as Southern Michigan, just as how Wisconsin might recognize the Upper Peninsula as theirs, hence all the Packers fans there. But, we'll get into that maybe one day in our future state of the Michigan and Michigan-Ohio border situation. Or if you want to talk about it in one of our summer Eintracht Frankfurt friendlies, in Louisville or Philadelphia. Great. I'm segueing a little bit earlier while we're talking about United States stuff. Chris, we are about to hit May. We are a couple days from May here, and that means we are 3 months from today, the friendly in Louisville, July 29th, and then the friendly in Philadelphia on August 2nd. Do we have anything new to share for anyone that is considering or for sure going to be traveling to the U.S.?
So we 100% have a live broadcast in Philadelphia before the match. I'm going to nail down the time specifically, but it's been confirmed there. As far as Louisville, we're going to do a tailgate with an attempted live broadcast, all bandwidth, mobile dependent. But I want to hear from the people because Louisville last year we had a good 30, 40 people maybe, and I expect about the same numbers this year. What do y'all want to eat? Everyone loved the barbecue last year. They did an outstanding job for us. I'm willing to go back there. If somebody's got a different idea what they want to eat in Louisville, I'm going to make it happen. I'm a big guy. I like to eat, and I like to share good food with other people. So you tell me what you want, and hefpod's going to make it happen for you.
In addition, a couple of things from producer Nathan will honoring his request and giving EFC St. Louis a shout out and for a nice call to arms, for everything that's taking place here. Yep. In addition to the live broadcast that's Chris was talking about for Philadelphia and potentially Louisville, I will also maybe teaser while we'll be in the process, but a goal of ours is to do some additional hefpod content for sure while in Louisville, potentially something that you would see similar to the recap the Adlers, but more in the present live match experience either before or after. Stay tuned for more details on that, but that's going to be another fun goal in Louisville. So 3 months away, man. I can't wait. I'm excited for this one. But let's talk about the now. Let's talk about another reason why we are excited. 3 days ago, Eintracht Frankfurt in third place in the Bundesliga, coming off their 0-0 draw at Augsburg. Hard-fought draw, but going into the Tippspiel, 12:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, we're taking what was going into the match day a fourth place RB Leipzig that at kickoff became a fifth place RB Leipzig. We'll talk about that with the Freiburg win at Wolfsburg. We'll go more into details and around the Bundesliga. But playing RB Leipzig for the third time this season, the first two times in Leipzig, 3-0 loss exiting from the DFB Pokal and a hard-fought 2-1 loss 10 days later in Bundesliga play. So you can say there was some nerves, there was some trepidation. I don't think the guys weren't concerned. They didn't get that memo. Dino Tautmuller didn't get that memo because what we witnessed was maybe one of the best Eintracht Frankfurt performances of the entire season. And almost had to like double take in like when I was doing the recap on Saturday, like, is this actually happening? Is this a fairy tale dreamland? Eintracht Frankfurt 4, RB Leipzig 0. Goal in the first half by Ansgar Knauf. Shortly after the second half, Leipzig went down to 10. Denial of a goal scoring opportunity. Ansgar Knauf is taken down. An Arthur Teyat free kick forces a save and a half volley rebound by Ansgar Knauf to make it 2-0. Hugo Ekitike made it 3. Robin Koch made it 4. Could have been more, in my opinion. Chris, what say you? Because sometimes it was so good, like I'm lost for words at times, but on the other hand, I can also feel like I can go raving about this match.
So I'm glad you said it first because I'm often accused of being an absolutist with some of my statements, but to say that this was the best match of the year is pretty honest in my opinion. I feel like good quality matches we played earlier in the year. We had, 15, 20 minutes in the middle where things didn't go the right way or we had to play from behind, but settled for a comfortable victory. This was just a start-to-finish ass-whooping. Ansgar Knauf, that first half, he scored in both halves, which is outstanding, but what he did to provide early in the match, just settling guys down, using his speed, finding space, that pass from Ekitike right on his foot for the first goal. I want more of him. I understand that, he's not... It's complicated, and we'll get into it for a minute here. It's complicated with him because he's not the kind of guy that's going to take you on a Champions League magical run to the semifinal or anything like that. But he's good enough to take you on a run in the Bundesliga, and he's proven that. And Leipzig is not a great side this year. That's pretty clear now, not just this result, but other results through the season. Just there's a gap there. I know they're only a couple points behind Champions League position right now, but there's a pretty clear gap in what we usually get from Leipzig and where they are today. But I thought Ansgar Knauf was maybe his most professional game, and he's had a lot of good ones for us because he disappears for a month at a time, but when he comes back, it's really a beautiful thing. And I'm really glad we pulled the deal on him when we did. I'd like to see him get more opportunity, get more regular contributions to the score sheet. And Ekitike, I think, was a little overlooked early in the year because Marmoush was doing his crazy thing in the first half. But Hugo Ekitike has been such a consistent person, a consistent provider of energy and offense in this lineup. And I know he's not as productive as he was at one point. He also doesn't have Marmoush to feed to and to play off of. But where would we be without Hugo Ekitike right now? It's just unreal. The consistent play that he has, whether he's passing, he's shooting, he's creating space and doing his thing one-on-one. Absolutely love that guy. And, it makes you wonder what could have happened if we hadn't dropped points, but this isn't the episode to dwell on that. Guys take care of business, really from beginning to end. No doubt in my mind how that one was going to end up.
I think it's Eintracht Frankfurt reminds me, and I think I feel appropriate. I was thinking about this because you knew, and I think a couple of people knew. I had 2 games on around that at that time because
sorry for giving you shit. It's just easy.
Former Adler manager Oliver Glasner and former Eintracht Frankfurt player Daichi Kamada were in the FA Cup semifinal for Crystal Palace, which started 15 minutes earlier. And to see both teams, Palace are on the FA Cup final with a 3-0 win. Eintracht Frankfurt reminds me of a player that played for Palace that was at Lyon when we were there in December for Europa League and now is in Charlotte in MLS, and that is Wilfried Zaha, especially when Zaha was that young. Knopf has that blistering pace and ability to create minuscule chances with his pace that he has, but he lacks consistency in the final third. He's had some key moments from us before. Goals and assists, Europa League, in the Europa League one. Even in, I think, Champions League. I think he might have had the equalizer in the match that saw us defeat Sporting to get through out of the group stage. But this was like, you saw what he did. I was like, if we had this just 25% more of the season, 50% more of the season, God, man.
Let me make a comparison. Let me make a comparison. And it's not apples to apples because one was a little further in his career than the other at this point. But it reminds me a little bit of Ante Rebic, where when he was on, he could be the best player on the pitch. But what we forget, the first year or two he was here, not a lot, quite inconsistent. Had a kind of a breakout game against Dortmund, and then the following season he lit it up. But just kind of one of those things where, there's players out there that have immense amounts of talent. They just struggle with the consistency or finding it in training to make their way into that starting 11. And maybe Knauff's one of those guys where you got to be patient waiting for him to get his chance. But once he does, if Ansgar Knauff gets on the score sheet, we're taking 3 points. I have no statistical backing for that statement. That's just the way it feels.
The game plan's working if Ansgar Knauff is on the score sheet, goal or assist wise. Because before Omar Marmoush's departure, it was Ekitike and Marmoush up top. And now you're starting to see the new modern form of that, which is Ekitike and Jean-Matteo Bahoya and Ansgar Knauff behind him. And then hoping that you're getting your service on the flanks, whether it's from Brown for sure on the left, and either Collins or Christensen. It was Collins on Saturday. But yeah, I think it's there's a lot of promising things. And as much as you want to be like, hey, we're good to go, we ain't yet. We'll talk about it why. But before we do that, let's go around the Bundesliga.
Hold on. Let me come in with one more thing, because I'm not going to give a full mea culpa, but Shqiri has been one that has stepped up the last couple of weeks too and been a lot more impactful. And I think it would be unfair to him to not give him credit for being a little bit more of a confident, I don't know if that's the right word, he's never lacked confidence, but impactful player more so than we've seen for the last couple months. And it's another one of those things where, as we saw points slide away that we should have taken, we came down really hard on some guys for not showing up, and he probably took more than anybody else the brunt of that frustration. But as you can see, guys like Knauff and Shqiri and a couple others that play to a level that we expect them to be at, the results are there, and with just 3 weeks left, man, we're this close. We're this close.
So let's talk about why we are this close. Let's go around the Bundesliga for match day 31. Started off Friday night, VfB Stuttgart 0. FC Heidenheim won, a huge 3 points for Heidenheim. And a result that it basically spells for Stuttgart that if they want Europe, You got to win the Pokal final against Arminia Bielefeld. Bayer Leverkusen 2, Augsburg 0, which means that Bayern Munich was unable to clinch the Meisterschale this past weekend with the 3-0 win over Mainz. They have to do it on Saturday. Why is it beneficial to us? We'll talk about around the Bundesliga in segment 2. Hoffenheim 2, Dortmund 3, a battle of who didn't want it more. Unfortunately, some might say controversial with the collision in the box and Oliver Baumann being knocked down, but a Dortmund goal in the 95th minute sees Niko Kovac's side get a little bit red hot. And I know I predicted them to be in 6th in the offseason, but I'm kind of pissed that they're 6th right now. So
it's been classic Dortmund for a while now, where they look all out of sorts, and whether it's first half or the second half collapse, it just I said back at Christmas, I'm not going to write them off because they still have a ton of talent. They just always seem to find a way to get back into Europe. I mean, they're a match or two away from not just being in Europe, but being in Champions League again.
Yeah, and that will be very, very interesting to see how their remaining 3 matches go. Another big matchup key around us. Wolfsburg hosted Freiburg. I said Freiburg. I'm able to talk about segment 2. Wolfsburg went down a man early. Freiburg made them pay in the second half. 1-0 Freiburg, big 3 points, sees them in 4th place above RB Leipzig. Obviously,
that's 3 in a row for them. I mean, that's the difference right there. 3 in a row for Freiburg is the reason they're holding on to 4th.
Whereas Mainz and RB Leipzig have been on the opposite end, unable to get wins. Mainz suffering a few losses. The Leipzig lost this weekend to us. Another team that's kind of been playing themselves out of a potential Champions League spot and maybe Europe. Borussia Mönchengladbach falling at Holstein Kiel in a barn burner of a match. Go check out the Bundesliga highlights video on ESPN Plus. Holstein Kiel 4, Borussia Mönchengladbach 3. On Sunday, Bochum, Union Berlin. Bochum needed 3 points, didn't get it. 1-1. A win by Heidenheim over Bochum in this next match day says bye-bye to Bochum and goodbye to the luck and goodbye to any issues with that stadium for at least a couple years with, which I'm sure a bunch of Frankfurt Ultras will appreciate. And lastly, Werder Bremen 0, St. Pauli 0. Bremen's going to rue them. They had chances, in my opinion, from what I saw of the video, but unable to get the job done. So we'll go into the table in segment 2. Let's go into the Frauen at Koln. A matchup that I would always want us to win 12-1. Because I ain't going to say 10-0 in honor of our to emulate our donor friends. Eintracht Frankfurt won the first matchup 8-0. So I was like, yeah, we should be able to score 8. Well, we scored half that. We scored 4. 4-0 the final. I'm more pissed off that the match was not on DAZN on 12:30. So I didn't see any highlights. Chris, however, found a Danish feed. So I will leave the highlights to you.
Yeah. God bless my friends over in Denmark. Just, uploading 3-hour streams to me to watch the next day. But no, I mean, to Jake's credit, he's lucky that they're not relegating 2 teams this year and only 1 with the expansion of the first division. Cologne just not having a good season.
Is worse than Koln, so they'd be spared still. But close,
not on points, though.
Not by much.
Not
really.
Not
Jens ahead of them now?
Yeah, they're up by 2 points. Because they had a win last week and Cologne had to draw. So, but
oh my God.
either way, that bottom of the table is really, really bad. But here's the thing: with 3 weeks left now, 2, but 3 when this match was played, it's still on the brink. Leverkusen's only a few points behind, and they keep winning now 3 out of 5. And it was up to Frankfurt to just go take care of business. And I'm going to be honest, because I couldn't watch in real time thanks to a blackout here in the States. I watched it 3 o'clock this morning while driving through the middle of nowhere in this godforsaken state of Ohio. But it kept me awake. It kept me alert at 3 o'clock in the morning. And when you get contributions from the people that Frankfurt is getting contributions from, you can see why we're holding on to that 3 spot. Fragang with 2, Aniomi with 1, Sense with 1 at 90 plus 1. And all of a sudden, like, finding our spot from free kicks, which had kind of been a thing on both the men's and women's sides for a while now, just not putting the ball in the right spot in the box, and not finding the right bounces to take care of business on rebounds. But definitely another one of those things where you say, hey, we're all frustrated with the way the season's gone, but taking care of business 4-0 against Koln with 2 weeks left. I'm still disappointed because this isn't, in December, early January, this isn't where I expected this group to be. But when you hold another Bundesliga side to 0 shots on target for a 90-minute match, there's nothing to complain about. Nothing, as long as you get at least 1 goal. But to have 4 to our credit, 0 complaints at all from this one. I'm a little concerned. Are we talking about this now or segment 2 with the finale?
You can talk about it now if you want.
So I'm a little bit concerned with the Frauen side in the finish here. Sunday against Hoffenheim, and then the following weekend against Leipzig in the matchday 22 finale. This is tough. This is going to be really tough because Leipzig has had our number recently, and it's just things still don't feel right. Maybe I'm just a little... Am I being dramatic about this? Things just don't feel right with this group. It hasn't since December went haywire, or January, I guess, went haywire. I just don't get the feeling that this group is really comfortable, and dropping one to Hoffenheim or dropping one to Leipzig doesn't seem outside of the realm of possibility for me.
I'm looking at the DFB website, which is where you can find the Frauen Bundesliga match day results and the table. And it's broken down, not just table, but there's the second round. 9 matches played by Eintracht Frankfurt in the second round. They've won 6, they've lost 3, which is 4th in
Those
that
3
table.
are pretty important, though.
Yes. Wolfsburg, Freiburg, Bayern Munich. 16 goals conceded. Of their 21 in 20 matches have happened in those 9 second half matches.
That's crazy.
So it is that those 4 or 5 days in February, because it was Bayern in the Pokal and then Wolfsburg right after, and then it was a crisis of confidence, dare we say. I think when I look at the rest of this match day, because it's horrible when you're rooting on another team to slip up, as we are, because we're from being comfortably in the top 1 or 2 to now being in 3rd place and needing to get the second. I mean, Wolfsburg down 1-0 at home to Hoffenheim yesterday. Scratched and clawed back, won it in stoppage time, 2-1.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at other results, Potsdam scored a goal. Holy shit. Lost 1-3 to Leverkusen.
That makes 5 for the 20 matches played this season.
RB Leipzig, SGS Essen was Leipzig 0, Essen 3, Bremen 3, Karl Jena 0, Bayern 3, Freiburg 1, Bayern, they've wrapped it up. Yet another Frauen Meisterschale for them. So, when you look at it right now, it's tougher, especially on paper for us when we got Hoffenheim and Leipzig, because you look at Wolfsburg, they're at Potsdam this weekend. And then they are home to Leverkusen on the final match day. We need to get better results than our 2 than their 2. So, do you want to, since we're talking about that, do you want to do a prediction for Hoffenheim, or do you want to save it for segment 2?
No, I'm going to do it now because we're on a roll with Frauen. Leipzig, I'm not even going to predict that one yet. They've been bad this year. The only reason that they scare me is because last year they had our number and embarrassed us in multiple competitions. But this year, this week with the matchup with Hoffenheim, they have nothing to play for. We got a lot to play for. 2 is still a possibility. I know Wolfsburg has got a pretty easy go of it on the way out, but they're not the same side they usually are either. They should be 5, 6, 7 points higher than they are right now. For them, 3 draws and 3 losses in league play, they're not accustomed to that. 1 or 2 of each, maybe. So for them to drop 9, 10, 11, 12 points on the year so far, that's very uncharacteristic of them. So 2 still not out of the question, but we got to focus on ourselves. And Hoffenheim is a side that there's no excuse not to play well against them. Like, they lost this past weekend. We're playing well right now. I'm going to say... I hate making this prediction. But we're playing at home. I'm going to say a 2-0 victory. Give me Freigang and Aniomi again. The stars show up under the brightest lights.
Home finale of the regular season at the Brett Nilbad for this Eintracht Frankfurt Frauen side. I think 2-1, just because I don't feel... I mean, if you get a clean sheet against Hoffenheim, that's fantastic. I just don't trust their squad to be turned on fully enough to be able to have a clean sheet against this Hoffenheim side. I'll go Anyomi, but also go Lara Prashnikar. I think she's had a better second half of the season. So I think she can, round out that in style for there. But, I mean, really the one thing that you got to keep a look at is Wolfsburg at Potsdam. I mean, vintage, if this was 10, 15 years ago, we'd be a little bit more optimistic about this. But it's not 10 or 15 years ago. It's 2025. And Chris just mentioned how many points Turbine Potsdam have, along with goals scored. So, maybe. Just maybe.
Minus 60 on that goal differential for those that can't do 65 minus 5. That's a brutal number. And that's not a 34-game men's schedule. That's a 20-game women's schedule at this point. That's brutal.
Ouch.
You're averaging a -3 every match.
That's gotta, I don't want to know what that does on the soul. I really don't. Not one bit. But what we do want to talk about, what reigns on the soul. A tradition, like a segment here. One of Chris's favorite segment, the segment that say Chris was made for this. Hashtag, what are we drinking? Which we can also include food. I know you're in Ohio. Bright side about Columbus is they got some good eats, from what I've heard. I've never been in Columbus. What about this past weekend?
Of all the cities in Ohio, it's not the worst. Just going to say that. A tradition unlike any others, as we're in the shadow of the Masters now. Chris disrespecting the state of Ohio. I went out of my way tonight. By the way, I had a nice local burger, delicious, awesome. Columbus food is great. But I wasn't about to ruin our hashtag what are we drinking segment with some of that Ohio trash water. So I had to go to the Whole Foods and pay way too much for some Bell's Kalamazoo Stout from safely brewed in the state of Michigan. Phenomenal beer, one of the more reliable stouts that we have in the state. So there you go.
Yeah, I was just about to say the only other thing you could have potentially gotten away with was Yingling. I mean, which... So
I thought about it because they don't distribute in Michigan. So I might get some on the way home tomorrow just to have. But it's one of those beers that, it's good. But you buy it because of the legacy of the brewery. The beer is not that great compared to what else is out there.
Stop by Warren on the way home if you get some Yingling.
Well, that could happen.
Hell yeah. I am currently enjoying some Arby's and currently a cup of unsweetened tea here. But on Saturday, after the end of Palace Villa and then eventually the Frankfurt Leipzig match, was at our English, my friend Andy Ridgway, his German club is Eintracht Frankfurt. big Palace fan. We're at his house. We're taking in this moment. He's got a nice little mini amount of wine. So he had a nice bottle of Burgundy. I don't know the name. It was a lot of French. I didn't take it all down. But you might have saw I had the glass.
Hold on. Do you know how many people you would offend watching German and English soccer while drinking French wine? That's like 3 strikes and you're out right there.
Yeah, but Hugo Ekitike is French. He scored the goal.
There you go.
So,
you just saved the day.
Yeah, so which you might have saw had a glass of, which was there in the Recap the Adler video. So plenty of things to celebrate and be joyous for. So wherever it was that you're eating, drinking, we say cheers, we say prost. And yeah, we'll take a brief break and be back for segment 2 of the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast. All right, welcome back to Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast. Garrett here, Chris behind enemy lines in Ohio. We have talked about the joyousness that was the Eintracht Frankfurt Männer win at home to RB Leipzig. We talked about the Frauen beating Koln, even though it wasn't enough by my standards, but I can be greedy with them. We talked about the Frauen coming ahead, their home finale against Hoffenheim this weekend. Let's now focus on the big stuff happening this weekend. Let's go around the Bundesliga first for match day 32 in the Männer Bundesliga. Friday, May 2nd sees Heidenheim host Bochum. Heidenheim win, as mentioned earlier, relegates Bochum. Bayern Munich can clinch the Bundesliga and the Meisterschale with a win at RB Leipzig, which I feel dirty. Come on, get us on there. I'll explain why. Mönchengladbach hosts Hoffenheim. Union Berlin, Werder Bremen. Bremen looking to have a potential chance at making Europe. St. Pauli, Stuttgart. These are all the 9:30 a.m. Eastern games on Saturday. The Tippspiel at 12:30 Saturday is Borussia Dortmund versus Wolfsburg. I wouldn't call this a meteor match. Just one of those, those door jams that I hope that both just get caught with the door jam in that repeatedly before kickoff, before they put the cleats on.
Garrett, I would rather stub my pinky toe on a table than have to pick a side in that one.
Yeah, no, I mean, yes, emissions, everything that you want to say all about that. Yeah, nah. I'd rather do that than talk about Dortmund Wolfsburg on Saturday at 12:30. If any of the Dortmund contingent and the donor listens to this, I'm going to get shit on, but it's worth it. Sunday, 3 matchups. First, Augsburg, Holstein Kiel. Holstein Kiel still alive somehow. They are trying to go and trying to stay up. I commend the fight. I know, Chris, you had him surviving.
Yeah, they're helping me not look so stupid right now. Their thing is, it's just been inconsistent. They popped up from time to time and made a thing of it. I think I overrated their consistency of roster without remembering that the quality changes when you change divisions. So, I mean, they've certainly been commendable. They've given some good sides some real fits. So, I'm not counting them out of it. I certainly think, for eye test, I think Kiel has been stronger than Heidenheim this year.
Yeah, especially Heidenheim, no legitimate nosediving after the first few weeks of the year. Freiburg, Leverkusen, 11:30 a.m. Sunday. Again, I feel dirty in saying Leverkusen. Maybe here's why. You're good with Freiburg.
Do it. Yeah, no, give me Leverkusen all day. I don't feel dirty about it.
Why are we saying this? Because the last matchup of the match day is 1:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. It's a Rhine-Main derby. We get to travel on the Main, and those get to travel via boat to Mainz, and not carnival season, but a Mainz side that is sputtering, that wish it was carnival season. Eintracht Frankfurt are in 3rd place right now, 55 points. They're 4 points ahead of 4th place Freiburg, 6 points ahead of 5th place Leipzig, 7 points ahead of 6th place Dortmund, and 8 points ahead currently of Mainz, their opponent. As far as I'm reading this right now, results in our favor going into this match day means there's a potential that an Eintracht Frankfurt win on Sunday clinches a Champions League spot for the 2025-2026 season. Before we get into this weekend and we talk about this match, we have talked about the Launish Diva, the Moody Diva, as the English praying and speaking goes, and Chris has his hands in his face because he knows it's time for a little launch spiel here.
I'm saying a prayer.
Yeah. Heilige Diva von River Mind, bitte für uns, I believe was the banner in the Ultras section in Seville in diesem Jahr Europa Final, May of 2022. The history and the ghost, especially in these odd years, 2019, 2021, 2023, have seen Eintracht Frankfurt in Champions League positions, but unable to hang on. 2025 has seen them now literally with a foot in the door, more so than anything. High percentage chances. So I will say this, especially because it was talked about. There is a line between confidence and arrogance. Arrogance is like saying, look at what they've all done. What else do we got? Of course we're going to get it. But confidence is knowing the quality of the squad and having the ability and having the faith in the ability of the guys to get this done. Though we know the road is going to be difficult, especially against a rival in Mainz and a team that on match day 15 saw Mainz come into the Waldstadion and, just a few days before Christmas give us a beating like they're forcing us to eat fruitcake. Frankfurt 1, Mainz 3. Different times since then. Good run of form for the Adler to an extent, a not so good run of form for Mainz. So I'll ask you this, Chris. How are you, with all that being said, how are you feeling about Sunday? And what are you thinking?
So, over in Ireland is our good buddy Eddie, one of our most loyal listeners, one of our most loyal contributors to this hefpod environment, hefpod universe, especially in Discord. And he's got a nice young son who is too good to hear the words that are going to come out of my mouth. So if you got a kid that's under like 12 who doesn't know soccer words yet, you might want to cover their ears. All right, you've had enough warning. Fuck Mainz. It's just our time. It's been too long. We've gone through too much heartbreak. I am so sick and tired of having my heart ripped out after being confident of Champions League qualification, after being confident in a title victory in the 90s that went to hell, after so many diva moments. It would mean so much to me to clinch this against Mainz. If it was Hoffenheim or Freiburg or Heidenheim or you name any of the other sides that have come and gone, I wouldn't care. I want this against Mainz because this is a matchup that we historically struggle with really badly. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but guys, this is one we gotta have. We gotta have this one on the road. The Main Rhine, it is everything this year. If we don't win this match, we might still qualify for Champions League. I want this one. I want this one more than any other. Like maybe outside of the Europa League final. I'm talking like cup finals and others. You are measured in Europe by what you do in Champions League. And we've had a taste of it. I want more. I don't just want more. I want to qualify through the league. That means so much more to me than anything else we've ever done.
We're unbeaten.
Is that too dramatic?
In our last... No, I think it's perfect. I think it's a... We're unbeaten in our last 4 at Mainz, and I just knocked on my table as I fucking said that. A win and 3 draws. I think, hold on, let me take a look. Win in 21, draw in 22, draw in 23, 23, 24. Wait, we won in 22, 23. Either way, drew. Point is, we're unbeaten in our last 4 in Mainz. There is something that I feel a lot better about this fixture now than I did in week 15. There is the adage, however, of a wounded animal. We have seen the wounded animal twice recently. We saw the wounded animal in Tottenham Hotspur, and that we reacted to, while they didn't play that hot, we were worse, and that's why Tottenham Hotspur in the Europa League semifinal, and we're not. On the other hand, we played a wounded animal in RB Leipzig on Saturday, and we basically gave them the coup de grace. So come 3:30 p.m. Eastern, maybe 3:35-ish, depending on how much stoppage time there is. Chris, job done? And do you think with Leipzig, Munich, and Freiburg, Leverkusen, and other things, will we be in an opportunity to win and clinch?
I am going to say this with 100% certainty in my head and in my heart. As Dan Miller, the great radio guy for the Detroit Lions, says, job well done, job done better this weekend by Eintracht Frankfurt by the score of 3-2. Bahoya Ekitike and Ansgar Knauf closing things out in a 3-2 victory, Champions League qualification, and then we can just breathe for the final 2 weeks of the season.
I will not say, even though Eintracht Frankfurt have had clean sheets in their last 2 matchups.
Oh, fuck
which
you.
Is I'm not saying that. It's an astonishing feat in itself. We're not getting a clean sheet this weekend. Not in the Rhine-Main. Not on the road,
no.
man.
No.
Mainz are wounded. I think when Hugo Ekitike did this social media post about being hungry and all that, we weren't sure what we were going to see from these guys after Tottenham. That first half in Augsburg wasn't reassuring on Easter Sunday. That second half was a hell of a lot better. Maybe a couple minutes more, they win that damn game. Saturday, they came out and they were hungry. This is a group of young players that are getting their first experience and an opportunity to make future experiences from themselves. They wrap it up on Sunday. Mainz 1, Eintracht Frankfurt 3. I am going to go Nathaniel Brown, Ansgar Knauf, Hugo Ekitike.
You know what? Let me say this too. As we both put in our predictions for confident but yet concerning victory. I don't think these guys have to be perfect. We put the pressure on them to be perfect because we have 5-year or 10-year or 30-year memories as fans. These players have nothing but the moment to live in. They're professionals.
And each other.
It's their job. And any outside influence that we put on them, like I'm getting choked up talking about it because this is all I've asked for from this club for years is qualification through the league. That means way more. All due respect to the Europa League title, I loved raising that trophy. This one, where we worked 34 weeks to qualify, means more to me. Because remember, we finished 11th in the league. This is validation that we are a top European side, a top 15 or, pick your number. Not many teams have the opportunity that this group has. And for all the good Frankfurt sides, I've been watching since 1993, for all the good sides to have never accomplished what this team has the chance to do says a lot about their character, because they've been questioned. After Marmouche left, we said, who the hell is going to stand up? 2 weeks ago, I was on here saying that I'm close to losing faith in this group. I hope they prove me wrong. I hope they prove all of us wrong. And, you know, I've been saving this can of apple wine for this occasion, and it's probably skunked all to hell right now, but it will all be worth it Sunday afternoon if everything goes according to plan.
1:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Central, 11:30 Mountain Time, 10:30 Pacific. If you don't have anything doing, your ass better be in front of a TV or a computer, on your phone, on ESPN Plus, for the Rhein-Main, for Mainz Eintracht Frankfurt. That's all I got. Because
this is heavy. This is really heavy at the moment. It just kind of hit me that this is uncharted territory for most of us to have this on the line at this point.
Yeah, and it's how I'm feeling about this right now with Eintracht Frankfurt, Chris, is similar to our experiences we've had local and recently. Lions a couple years ago, Tigers last year, Pistons now. But elevated, because to do this is a fantastic feat in the time that we're in. This group is hungry, but make it so and get it
for
done.
For anyone that's listening at the 58-minute plus mark here, no matter what happens this weekend, it's not the end of the world. Nope. Like, thank God this is not week 34. My heart couldn't take that. The fact that we have a couple shots at this, and with help from others, that today, Sunday might not even matter. But I'm just really thankful that we have a couple shots at this, because we know very, very well how badly this could turn to.
Yeah. So I think it's only Tuesday, folks. I'm already Chris and I already have something local to us where it's do or die tonight for one of our teams. So we're already in that mode of like on there. But all y'all, it's okay to be confident, but don't be arrogant. Find your line, to go back to our discussion in the Discord earlier. And trying to knock down a bee's nest, that's being arrogant. Shout out to Danny for that GIF, Simpsons GIF earlier today. I think we've covered enough on that. Why do we go in the ways we could find people could check out the channel, Chris? We got Hey Eintracht Frankfurt on Instagram. Hit that like and subscribe button on the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt YouTube if you haven't. Please and thank you. We are so close to hitting the subscriber threshold to be able to do these live broadcasts that we're talking about. If you haven't done it already, 4 or 5 subscribers away.
There's no excuse, guys. We want to broadcast live across the states, across the world this summer. When Frankfurt's here, we need your help.
This podcast, while not recorded in video form, should be added to YouTube. If so, this will be our 100th addition to the Eintracht Frankfurt YouTube. So time flies when you're having fun on that. In addition, Twitter, hefpod, Blue Sky, hefpod.bsky.social. If you want to go pepper Brian's email, heyeintrachtfrankfurt@gmail.com. Chris, do we have anything? I know we were in flux with our redoing some new website stuff. Do we have anything yet? Or maybe
we're going to do it over the summer and make sure we do it right. Yeah, we own the domain, but some other complicated stuff, and yeah, but we'll be back this summer with that. But right now, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Discord. Hit us up on Discord.
Yep. Obviously, if you haven't joined the Discord yet, the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt Podcast Discord, ways to join, have the discussion on there. Join in the banter. You think I banter with Chris in here a lot? Oh, you're missing out, folks. Chris, where can folks find you these days? I know you've cut back a bit on the socials, but you still love the bikes.
I was riding a Peloton at 2:00 this morning and documented every minute of it, because who doesn't want to watch a fat guy ride a bike or listen to him brag about it? So, yeah, at CND313 or Instagram at Chris N. Monroe, and always on Discord as well.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Discord at GMComats, Blue Sky GMComats at bsky.social. This is not the weekend to do Detroit sports promotions and all the other podcast endeavors that I do. This is specifically business Eintracht Frankfurt week. So for Chris behind enemy lines in Ohio, although enjoying the fine joys of Michigan beer, Garrett here in Metro Detroit, and as you can see here, Chris is doing a F Ohio, right, with the double birds and everything like that. Oh, that should be another screenshot too, but we'll have to save that for another video time. Wherever you're checking this out, thanks for checking out another edition of the Eintracht Frankfurt podcast. Be on the lookout on YouTube. Sunday we'll be having the recap the Adler of both the Frauen Sunday morning and the Männer Sunday afternoon, and hopefully it's joyous. Until the next time, so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, auf dir, tschüss und Fórza SGE.
Eintracht Frankfurt, schalalalalalala. Eintracht Frankfurt, schalalalalalala.